It's 6:30, it's dark, and we're going to Shepperton. So here we are outside the job, and we are in Shepperton, and dare I say quite a posh bit of Shepperton as well. We're very, very close to the actual River Thames here. The journey, leaving that little bit earlier this morning, was much nicer as far as traffic is concerned, up the M3 London bound from Bracknell. But I'll tell you what, it's really, really foggy this morning. And especially on the M3, there's a certain point where after the M25 junction, stay on the M3, and then you got the old theme park, Thorpe Park, on the left, and it's a little bit of history. It was built on some old gravel pits, and there's a whole succession of quite large bodies of water there that the M3 kind of cuts through, and there in particular it was extremely foggy. But we are here now, and we've got a pretty easy day. Yeah, nothing too challenging. We are definitely going to get it complete today. And we was here yesterday, so I've broken this video up into two pieces. So this is the second part of yesterday's video. Shall we get in there and have a look what's going on? Okay, so we got a couple of small bits and pieces to finish off in here, and then we'll make a start out here. So here into the opening, into the kitchen, look, this has already got good beads on it, so we're just going to feather into these beads. Got these reveals to do. All this painted area has already been primed up with a good couple of coats of PVA. We got a profile of coving that we need to keep as tight as possible. A little bit of boxing up there, and this. So look, we've got the 20x5 carbon steel trowel, but that is not going to fit in this gap here. And this trowel is 16 inches. Always a little bit more difficult when the architraves and stuff are on, because it becomes another live edge that you have to keep neat. So I'm a little bit bored of plastering today. Or at least talking about it and doing videos about it. I think I might fill this video with a few fun facts that pop into my mind. So Shepperton, that's where we are. It's just like on the outskirts of London. I'd call it London because I don't live in London. Maybe if you lived in London, you would think this is more of a rural location. But Shepperton, one of the things it is kind of famous for is the Shepperton studios, film studios, and of course Pinewood isn't too far away either, where a lot of major blockbuster films have been filmed. One of them in particular, Star Wars, the original Star Wars, and I believe the original 1970s Stormtrooper outfit was designed by a guy who lived around here or something, and that, I mean, you can still purchase those Stormtrooper outfits, and I believe the mould is called the Shepperton. So yeah, they still have the original moulds. Okay, so yesterday we did this wall and the ceiling. That wall was plasterboard, but this wall was the same as these, the surface we was going over. So that gave me an indication of how these are going to behave. Now we got all the stuff on, and now it's time to flatten this back in. So this is the wall we started on. Then we picked off these couple of bits here, but all the way around here. Then we put this wall on, and then we done the reveals as you just saw. I have this much left in the bucket, but don't worry, I did that on purpose. I'm not up too much, because what I'm going to do, I know these walls are going to pick up a little bit faster because there is a little bit of suction left in those walls because we primed them up with PVA rather than SVR. So I'm going to go around and get all this under control, flatten it right in, and then I'm going to add a little bit of fresh water to this old plaster, a couple of handfuls of fresh plaster, and knock that up quite wet to put the second coat all the way around. And what that's going to do is accelerate the time for the next coat of plaster. So it's going to go off that little bit faster because we used old plaster in it. It's dirty water. So yes, just in case you are new to the channel, adding fresh plaster into old plaster using dirty water from the previous gauge, then you can speed up the setting time of the wall, okay? But you want to be a little bit careful using old dirty water, like from my washing out bucket, which I was using yesterday. So that dirty water in there has the potential to go off really, really fast because we're just knocking back plaster from the previous gauge. So that's only been knocked up for like 20 minutes or so. Then we're knocking it back. Okay, that's going to be a much more gentle effect on how much it speeds up the plaster for you. So there we go, look, we've been back round and we have flattened everything in. Now we've got a little bit of pimpling in places. You can see, look, it is kind of sticking to my fingers. It's not ready to take its second coat. But as the light shines on that, you can see a few little air bubbles. And I think there's a scrim there, which is causing that. So ideally we need this coat to pick up a little bit before we put another coat on it so that it doesn't actually bleed through into the second coat, okay? Because we're putting more wet, if the wall's too wet and you put more wet weight onto it, you're just gonna exacerbate the effect of the sagging and the pimpling. But it's a good idea to get it as flat as possible. So that's what we're tackling now, getting things straight, getting things flat. And let's have a look, because the light's coming through. You see how wet that is? So it's sticking to my finger. Okay, all this stuff here, we don't need to worry about that yet. We're just worrying about flat, not smooth. Parakeets are making an awful racket this morning. Of course, the moment I start to film them, they all go quiet. Maybe they're camera shy. Okay, so we're just coming up to the final on these reveals. I haven't cleaned the beads off properly. And look, although I've been as tidy as I could, we've got these rounds here, you know, these round beads that we've come into. And we've got some residue there, although I've been brushing it. Some of the adhesive or the caulking from the decorator is stained a plastery colour, and it looks a little bit unsightly. What are we going to do about that? I'm going to show you a little trick that I've never shown before on this channel. Some regular old scrim tape. We are going to find the edge. Is there? Sure it is. Here we go. Is it the edge? Yeah. Oh, we got it. Okay. And we've got a trowel. Cut some off. And now what we're going to do is just going to fold that onto itself a couple of times. Can you tell what it is yet? No. And we've kind of made ourselves a little Brillo pad. Let's get up there and have a look. I've got you on the tripod. So look, we've got this little folded edge there, and with your thumb that we can just run that in. It's a little bit tricky trying to hold the camera and watch what I'm filming and do this at the same time. But you can get the idea. Of course here, this is still a little bit wet. And if you need to, you can fold it over again to get a fresh edge. There it goes. And you see it takes that painter's cork off as well. Right, I'm going to do this properly and I'll show you what it looks like. So there you go, it works really well. Obviously you can use a sponge as well, or you can actually use a real Brillo pad. But if you haven't got one, then a little bit of Scrim does alright, look. And like I say, quite often you probably won't need to do that, but because we've got these round ones on there, every now and again you see them when they installed the windows. And you can see the bead, look. See this bead here, see the distance between the bead and this little bit of profile on the window frame, and then as you come up, look, the profile's grown quite a bit bigger. See that? There's our line, there's the bead, there's our line, there's the bead. So all we can really do with that reveal is stay in line with that so it looks right, rather than being absolutely perfectly plumb. You have to take your spirit level away, eye it into the frames, etc. Which, well, it looks like they didn't do that when the original plastering was done. And I've got to admit, some of this walls, these original plastering walls, this bit down here was curling. I didn't go into one about it, but yeah, this is one of those things you've got to get over. Right, we are almost done in here. I've just got to get around all this that you saw me put on earlier and give it a final trowel with my stainless steel Raffina 16-inch. I'm going to run across that, brush all the internals in as I usually do with a little inch brush, which conveniently is sitting here. I'll brush them in. Hold on, let me just spin you around. So we look at the internal there, brush it in. And this is before we've given it, I mean, I'm just showing you this for just demonstration purposes, but I've got to go over this again. So you can see what it does. Let's have a look up here, look, you see that internal's a little bit messy. Alright, I'll let an inch brush up and down there. And look at the difference in just a couple of sweeps. So here we are in this room now with all the beads and everything. All cleaned and pretty much complete in here. I've left a little bit of plaster stuck on there. There's always something when you start filming, isn't there? I'm going to pop that off. Okay, so as you can see, these walls were done yesterday, just if you don't know, so was the ceiling. And we've got these dark areas and these light areas. So these light areas is where the plaster has dried, and when the whole area has returned to this plastery powder colour, then you're good to paint. And as you can see, it recedes in definite lines rather than all slowly fading away. So definite line of dry, definite line of wet. So yeah, when it all returns to that colour, that's when you're ready to rock and roll. Here we have the opposite thing. So this is just freshly done, and now it's time to turn this darker colour that we see up here. So these darker areas are more advanced in setting than this lighter area. So it changes from this to this dark area, and then back to this light colour. So the other thing I think we can mention in here is the coving was left here existing already, so we had to plaster up to it. And of course you do start to lose a bit of the profile, and through years and years of decorating and stuff and from scraping wallpaper off, these little profiles here, this and this, are the ones that get the damage. Now I tend to run my brushes over it, and as you can see, I've run my little inch brush in a similar fashion as going up and down this internal across this, but I don't scrape it off because you could only easily dig into the paint and pop the paint off and actually cause more damage than good. So what I normally suggest to the customers or the decorators if they're doing it themselves. Because I've brushed these in, and anytime there's a little, because it's such a stark difference, anytime there's a little bit of plaster getting in there, it's actually filling a hole, but because it's white and then this is this dark colour plaster, it's really noticeable. So what I do suggest is let this all dry out. Even up there where I've brushed it, that looks dark up there. So what I do suggest is do something similar with a bit of sandpaper as what we did with the Scrim. I'd put it on a block or something, or just fold it over and just prior to painting, just sand that little internal in on the profiles of the coating, and it really will sharpen and sort out and flatten that damaged profile that's had a background of decorating and paint drips on it, because that's the other thing when you paint and something like paint it, you get a little bit of a drip on this profile here quite often. I'll just show you. So some of the paint's here and then paint's up here, this edge gets, you can see that it's undulated. That's not just plaster stuck in there. I can feel it's all lumpy bumpy from paint. So there's not much you can really do about that. If I'm gonna say, but I can see it perfectly there, that's all lumps and bumps. And these areas here with plastering it, I've filled the deeper parts by brushing it. So just prior to painting, as I say, a little sand off. And you can see this edge here, look. That's all paint bubbles. Okay, so now we're all done in here. Now it is time to tackle, it's not a big area, but quite awkward really. A few little contours in it. We've got to curve this round. We formed this little bit of bead there and curled that round to the existing sort of thing that it kind of splays out. So I showed you how to bend that stop bead on the previous video. And all this surface here, which was, it did have wood chip on it. So that's been steamed off because it's been wood chipped that was painted. It got steamed off and then it's taken some of the paint off. So we've got a combination of paint and bare plaster there. But the guy here has prepped it up with PVA adhesive, polyvinyl acetate adhesive, and that's had overnight to really cure and dry up. So it's going to kill quite a lot of suction and stabilise anything else that's loose up there. Some people say you can't go over PVA or SBR when it's dry, but you can, okay? But if you look at all the information charts, if you buy your PVA and whatever, and then you look at the company and say, no, you must go over it when it's tacky. Well, you can. But you can also go over it when it's dry, especially PVA, because it re-emulsifies with the dampness of the plaster. So, shall we get on it? You know, it is quite awkward in here, and I think we might struggle with the 20x5. But I'll tell you what, we'll give it a go. We'll get the 20x5 on there and see how we do with that. Okay, another little plastering hack, never before seen on any other plastering channel, up to my knowledge. So, problem is, customer comes in, cup of tea, they put it on your windowsill like that, which is fine, especially in this case, because this windowsill's been painted windboard, if you like. But the problem is, you'll be drinking away your cup of tea and you'll have a little bit, I don't know if you see, but there is a tiny little bit left in there. But you get to the end, even though it's cold, you might think, Joe, I might just finish that cup of tea. But, you know, when you was cleaning the beads off, little hard lumps, etc., you forgot your little cup of tea was there. And I know little hard lumps quite often go in your cup of tea and they settle at the bottom of the cup. And we can't drink that. This is where you're wrong. Because you can take a little bit of Scrim. You can just place that just like that, over the rim of your cup, like just so, and then you can merrily finish your cup of tea without the fear of the little lumps. Eh? Eh? so as you can see, we got this on. It's very deep on this bead here. You can see actually quite a lot of that profile was good, but look, come down almost meeting that. There's nothing we can do about that. You might be able to see a little bit, but yeah, this is very, very tricky seeing in, especially with that 20 by 5. I'm trying to get a nice average of this curve we've got going on here because I want to try and meet this bead. I don't want any ripple through there, especially because I've got the light here. And of course that's going to be casting light this way, so this is why these trail marks here are showing up as much as they are, because look, you see it's the shadow that's being cast by them. Okay? So any ripples going this way are going to show up. So, let's do the best we can. I'm going to stick with that 20 by 5. I'm going to turn straight back round and flatten this all in and get it looking a lot better than it is at the moment. Okay, so I did have some left over in the bucket and I still got quite a bit left in there. So I'll kind of like used quite a bit more to give it another sort of tighter coat, but we're still exceptionally wet, look, very, very wet. Okay, it's literally just gone on. But we are looking a bit tidier now, and I kind of feel like we've got some shape going on to this bit. This is where I'm struggling a little bit, because not only is it curving this way, as you can see, but there is actually a bit of a curve this way as well. It's coming in and out this way, which is making it a little bit difficult to meet these lines here, both sides, because the 20 by 5 is so big. If I had a smaller trail, I could probably curl around it a little bit, but I don't mind having a little bit of a struggle with that 20 by 5. I'm happy now. So yeah, the 20 by 5 on stand like this might look a bit slow and cumbersome, but it really, really does make you concentrate on how you're putting on. You're trying to eliminate trail marks, and you're watching the feedback you're getting from that trail being so big, with the toes sticking in, the heel sticking in, it's not touching here, so you need to feel in here, you need to plane a bit off here. And because we're doing that right at the beginning, as we're putting on, this is when it gets easier and easier and easier. Because if I put that on with a flexi, well, I'd probably have to stay with flexi and there'd be ripples all over it. But now, you know, I've really tried my hardest to get it as, you know, all the lines really good with that large, straighter trail. So now it will be easier. When we come down to lay down, I'll probably stick with that. But if you really wanted to, you could probably drop down to a smaller trail after you've done something like flattening and get the shape with a larger trail, because that smaller trail is going to fit inside those contours. But we're going to leave this alone for a little bit because it's so wet, there's no point in touching it anymore. We've got the shape, we're going to leave it alone. Start getting some tools out, I guess, and then come back to it. We'll have another little, I reckon it's probably worth having another little flatten once this picks up a little bit more. See if we can iron out some more of these lines here. And you see it looks particularly bad there because of the way that the light is catching it there, you know. See, you can't see anything on this side. So if I come here now, look, you can see the light is catching it. And actually that bit there looks lovely now, doesn't it? Because that's the way we're looking at the way the light's hitting it. Come this way, and then the light is showing up every imperfection there. This has been a bit of a pain as well, but we'll get that. Okay, let's leave it alone, because if we keep playing with it, it'll upset the structure of the granules inside the coat of plaster, and that's the last thing you want to do, especially on something like this. Really should start thinking about getting my hair cut, shouldn't I? It gets to a length. Oh, I didn't realise I've been eating the plaster as well. It did drop it in my mouth. After going out my way not to eat the little lumps out at the bottom of the cup of tea, I get a nice wet bit right in the mush. Yeah, hair's getting a bit long in it. I should get it cut. As you know, I'm always wearing hats. It just gets at an awkward length, doesn't it? And long hair and plaster do not go together very well, to be honest with you. Yeah. Yeah, now's the stage I start looking like, what's his name, Anton something, or, you know, the mad nutty killer guy from the film No Country for Old Men. I used to get that a lot. Well, why my hair's like this anyway. Okay, so we have given it a second flattening and we're looking a lot better there. I also fed a little bit more material in there, so everything is much neater look. Okay, I am going to mix up with a little bit of dirty water from the previous gauge. Mix up enough. Put the second coat over the whole thing. Okay, so that's where we're at with that ceiling now, and I can see the finish line on the horizon. So what we did then, let's just recap. We hit it, put it on with the 20x5 carbon steel trail by Marshalltown, and then we flattened it in pretty much straight away. And I fed a little bit more gear into it as well, which was the same bucket of gear, even though it was picking up a bit. And then I left it alone for a little while, and then I came back again and I flattened it in again for a second time. I flattened the first coat in twice because there really was some undulations that I was struggling to get with that larger trowel at 20 inches, but we persevered and really got, you know, sort of like averaged out really nicely, and we eliminated the trowel marks by doing so. So then what that allowed me to do was knock up for the second coat and knock that up a little bit thinner and hardly anywhere near as much. It was much less because we just needed to put a tight coat over the top, and because we'd flattened it out and scrutinized so much with that 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown, we was able to lay it on with the Rafina Flex 2 stainless steel trowel, 16 inches, because it's much more forgiving. I knew there was still a couple of bends in there, and I'm down to a really tight level, a really tight coat of millimeters, whereas some of that other stuff was, you know, it's getting up to 5mm. So now, because we've got it in such a good shape, it will follow some contours, but we've created some really good contours there, you know. That's why we've been able to get away with laying down, putting on the second coat with the flexible trowel. Now the Rafina Flex 2s are not quite as flexible as some other trowel brands, the flexible trowels. That's why I've gone for them. They're a little bit more rigid, so they're not quite as bad. I mean, putting on with like a PLASTERING or something like that would be the way. I don't understand what a PLASTERING is for, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't know what benefit it does, unless you want to just shine your wall up right at the very end. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Right, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to show you the final results once we're done, because it's just going through the motions now. But now, like I say, it's easier and easier and easier because we got all the hard work out of the way with that 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown. So now it's easy, and we can get away with using a flexible trowel because it's going to follow the contours that we made, which are now good, rather than wobbling all over the place. If I tried dubbing out with the flexible trowel around that bead and stuff like that, it would be curling round and stuff, and it would just be wobbly everywhere. So I'm feeling good about it. Okay, right, let's get this ceiling complete and make like a tree and get out of here. Okay. Okay. There we go. Oh, where's that come from? How's that got on there? Little fleck of paint. That's annoying, isn't it? Must have when I washed it. A little bit of a fleck of paint got on there somehow. You can see we've been pretty tidy there. moving line good. Keep this line here nice and regulated. Remember, we're following the contours of the original ceiling exactly. I don't know why they kicked that out a little bit at an angle, but there you go. But we are all done. I'm quite happy the way that, remember we had to pack this out a little bit. I showed that on the previous video. We had to double up the stock bead there, one on top of the other, come down and meet this one. And like I say, I advised the guy up here because this is what damage was caused when they stripped the wallpaper off. So all this raggedy edge. So what they're gonna have to do is get some filler over that. I'm not doing it in plaster. Get some filler over that so it doesn't upset the paper too much, and sand it back. The same with this line up here against this wooden profile. But other than that, I think we're looking pretty good. Starting to set. And we can get out of there. Quite clearly that's my favourite bit. Could it possibly be the beginning of a zombie apocalypse? I always get the feeling it is when I see tunics, especially 3 in a row like that. Alright guys, thanks for watching that video. It was quite a long one again, wasn't it? 40 minutes without including this clip. So yeah, thanks for watching that. Tomorrow we are off to a different job, completely new. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going in kind of blind, no pictures, just had it described to me. And I can't quite remember what was said, to be honest, but it sounds like there's a couple of days there. Right, what's the new news happening at the moment? Well, I am waiting on the delivery of a trowel which I'm going to give away on this channel to one lucky viewer. Yeah. So I'm waiting for that to be delivered, and then we will run a competition, and all you have to do to win this trowel is tell me a joke. And do you know what trowel it is? It's the 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown, which is predominantly straight. It just kicks up at the very front and at the very back. And it's a trowel that I feature in every single video that I do, and keep going on and on and on and on about it. So I'm going to give one away, all at my own expense. The trowel itself has cost me £75. And I'm going to pay for it to get to you as well. I'm going to pay the postage. So I mean, what's it going to be? 75. Is it going to cost me a tenner to send it? So there you go. That's coming up soon, and I'm going to be running that competition very, very soon. I'm going to run it over, and I'm thinking I'm running it over about 24 hours, so you can have it real quick. You know, I'm going to long this thing out at all. In the meantime, you can come over to the Facebook group, which is called Plaster Master Smurf 74, whereas the YouTube channel is called Master Smurf 74 Plastering. Yeah, if you come over there, we've got a group running, and there's me and 1,000, just under 1,000 other people on there who are other plasterers, beginners. It's a really nice group. It's really friendly. There's no swearing or anything like that. I've got the parameters, so you know, if you're an experienced plasterer and you want to give some advice, and if you're brand new, even a DIYer, then come over and ask for some advice and post your stuff on the. And it's much easier to engage, I find, if you want to talk to me or other plasterers. it's much easier to engage and show pictures, etc., rather than on the comments section just on the YouTube platform, the app and everything. It's a little bit more clunky there. So there is that to consider as well. So yeah, come on over there. So let's wrap this up and say, yeah, thanks again for watching this video. I really enjoyed the music. I quite enjoyed doing this video actually. It was yeah, it's quite a good one. Watched it back and everything. So yeah, a new video will be up very, very soon, and don't forget the competition to win a 20x5 carbon steel trail by Marshalltown, which is predominantly straight. So yeah, that's going to be running soon. Right, see you soon. Take it easy.